Rapture September 2025 is happening, beloved. The hour is nearer than you think, for September 2025 does not come as just another passing season. It comes as a dividing line between what was and what shall be. The signs have already been whispered in your dreams, stirred in your spirit, and written in the heavens, yet only those with awakened eyes can see. The rapture is not merely about escape, but about unveiling, about the lifting of the veil from your true identity, so that what has been hidden in shadow now shines in the brilliance of God's eternal light. Many will mock, many will sleep, but the chosen ones will feel the trembling within, the holy shift that says, "This is the hour, this is the moment, this is the fulfillment." September 2025 will not just shake the world outside. It will shake the self within, and those who are ready will rise clothed in glory, while those who remain bound to the old will miss the transformation. The inner rapture precedes the outer one, the rapture that men anticipate with outward eyes. But the shadow of the rapture that first takes place within, the trumpet that awakens the dead, is not heard with the physical ear, but with the inner ear of the Spirit, for the first resurrection is always of consciousness before it is of flesh. When you hear of September 2025 and the proclamation that the rapture is at hand, do not think first of the skies breaking open, or of bodies vanishing from the earth, but rather of the veil being torn inside the temple of your being. For it is within you that heaven descends, and it is within you that the Son of Man is revealed. Until the inner man is awakened, the outer event is meaningless, for what good is being lifted if the soul has not first been prepared to ascend? The inner rapture is the dawning realization that you are more than dust, more than circumstance, more than history, that you are eternal spirit clothed temporarily in time, waiting for the moment when the garment of mortality is exchanged for the robe of immortality. This awakening happens quietly at first, a stirring of restlessness, a holy dissatisfaction with the world as it is, a yearning that nothing visible can satisfy. It is the voice of God within calling you higher, saying, "Come up hither." And when you answer that call, you rise inwardly long before the world takes notice. This is why some will never recognize the rapture even when it unfolds, for they wait for signs in the clouds, but ignore the signs in their hearts. The rapture is a mystery, and mysteries are not solved with intellect, but unveiled in spirit. When September 2025 arrives, it will be a time of unveiling, but the unveiling begins now, in the secret chamber of imagination, where you dare to believe yourself already transformed. For imagination is the womb of prophecy, and what you inwardly accept as true becomes the reality you shall one day walk into. The inner rapture is the shift in awareness when you no longer identify with the limitations of the flesh, but awaken to the truth that you are one with the eternal. This is why it is written that two shall be in the field, and one shall be taken, while the other left. The distinction is not physical, but spiritual. One has awakened, one has not. One has embraced the inner rapture, the other is still bound to appearances. Consider this deeply. Every outer event is but a reflection of an inner condition. If the rapture is to come in September 2025, it is because a great stirring of consciousness has already been taking place in the hearts of the chosen. The heavens declare the glory, but the Spirit confirms it within. Those who are truly ready will not be caught unprepared, for they have already ascended in awareness, already detached from the world's illusions, already dwelling in the kingdom within. For them, the outer rapture will only be the natural outworking of what has long been reality in their inner being. The unprepared will be those who clung to the outer, who waited for signs and wonders without ever cultivating the inner knowing. They will be bewildered, for the moment will overtake them like a thief in the night. You must therefore understand that the inner rapture is the real preparation. Do not wait for a date on the calendar to awaken, for the appointed time is always now. The rapture of September 2025 will not suddenly make you ready if you are not ready today. The great event is not about timing, but about alignment. The Spirit has always been calling, the door has always been open, the voice has always been whispering within, "Awake, sleeper, and rise from the dead, and Christ shall give you light." The shaking of the world is only to reveal what you have chosen within yourself. To experience the rapture outwardly, you must first experience it inwardly by letting go of all the weights that bind you. Fear, doubt, resentment, guilt, and unbelief. These are the chains that hold the soul to the earth. The inner rapture is the breaking of these chains, the rising above them into the liberty of the sons and daughters of God. Imagine yourself even now lifted into light. See yourself clothed in glory, no longer bound to the dust of this world. Feel what it means to be free, to be eternal, to be filled with divine power. This is not daydreaming. This is the rehearsal of the soul. What you persist in imagining with conviction becomes your new identity, and your new identity calls forth your new destiny. The inner rapture is this sacred rehearsal. It is not waiting for heaven to come down, but embodying heaven here and now, until heaven must manifest outwardly, because it has already manifested inwardly. The reason so many miss the promises of God is because they wait for them passively rather than living them actively in the present. They look outward while neglecting the inward, but the chosen ones know the truth. What is conceived within must be born without. September 2025 is the birth, but the conception is happening now within those who dare to believe. So when you hear of the rapture, do not look to the horizon, look within. Ask yourself, have I ascended in spirit? Have I released the old identity that binds me? Have I awakened to the truth that I am more than flesh? If you have, then you are already raptured, already seated in heavenly places, already living in the glory that others wait for. And when the outer sign arrives, you will not be shocked. It will only be the confirmation of what you already knew. But if you have not, the date will pass like any other, and you will be left wondering why nothing changed, because you refused to change within. Therefore, prepare not with fear but with faith. The inner rapture is not about escaping destruction, but about embracing transformation. It is not the end of life, but the unveiling of true life. It is not running from the world, but rising above it, shining as light in the midst of darkness. Those who understand this will walk into September 2025 with peace, not panic, with certainty, not confusion. They will already have met the bridegroom in the secret chamber of their hearts, and the great marriage supper will only be the outward celebration of a union that was sealed long before in spirit. Let this truth settle within you. The inner rapture precedes the outer one. If you rise in consciousness today, you will rise in glory tomorrow. If you awaken inwardly, you will not miss the outward unveiling. If you embrace the voice within, you will hear the trumpet without. The mystery of September 2025 is not about waiting for an appointed day, but about becoming the appointed one. For the rapture is not a date, it is a state. And when you live in that state, the date only confirms what you already are, chosen, awakened, and lifted into the eternal light of God. Imagination is the door to prophecy. Prophecy has never been about predicting events as though one were guessing the outcome of a game. Prophecy is the unveiling of eternal truth clothed in symbols that the awakened can interpret. To the unseeing eye, prophecy seems like riddles and codes, but to the spirit that has been quickened, prophecy is an open book written upon the heart. And the doorway to this book is imagination, for imagination is not mere fancy or idle dreaming. It is the divine creative power by which the invisible is shaped into the visible. When you hear of September 2025 and the rapture spoken of with such urgency, you must understand that this proclamation did not arise by chance, nor from men trying to stir fear, but from the movement of divine imagination in the hearts of those sensitive enough to receive the vision. Every prophecy begins first as an inner image, a stirring in the unseen realm of mind. It is within imagination that the future is conceived, and what is conceived must one day be born. Without imagination, prophecy cannot be grasped, for imagination is the very sense through which the eternal communicates with the temporal. To ignore imagination is to shut the door to the prophetic, for you cannot receive what you refuse to see inwardly. It has always been so. When ancient seers spoke of visions, what did they truly mean? They meant that within the silence of their spirit, images arose, clear, vivid, undeniable. These were not hallucinations, but the language of eternity translated into pictures the human mind could hold. When John spoke of trumpets of angels, of the Son of Man appearing in glory, he was speaking in the language of imagination, translating spiritual realities into symbolic forms. And so it is with the rapture of September 2025. It has been imagined before it will be revealed. Those who can see it inwardly are those who will experience it outwardly, for imagination is both the proof and the preparation of prophecy. The one who refuses to use imagination will never believe until the event overtakes them. But the awakened one walks already in its reality, for they have seen it in vision and embraced it as truth. Consider what it means that imagination is the door. It means that to enter the reality of prophecy, you must first dare to picture yourself within it. To believe in the rapture is not merely to wait for it. It is to live as though it were already true. When you sit quietly and close your eyes, when you imagine yourself clothed in light, rising above fear, free from the weight of this world, you are not daydreaming, you are rehearsing eternity. This rehearsal is the preparation of the soul. When the day comes, you will not be startled, for you have already experienced it inwardly countless times. You will know the trumpet's sound, not because your ear has heard it, but because your heart has already imagined it ringing. You will know the light, not because you studied it, but because you have already walked in it, within the temple of your imagination. In this way, imagination is the true practice of prophecy. It allows you to step into the unseen until the unseen must manifest. This is why imagination is holy, though the world calls it childish. The world trains you to suppress imagination, to call it fantasy, to dismiss it as unreal. Yet it is only through imagination that God can reveal himself to you. How else could you receive visions, promises, revelations? They come clothed in images, in inner experiences, in unseen realities that can only be grasped by the imagination. The reason so many mock prophecy is because they do not honor imagination. They believe only in what their physical eyes show them. Yet the unseen is more real than the seen, for the seen is temporary, but the unseen is eternal. Imagination gives you access to that eternal realm. So when prophecy declares September 2025 as the moment of rapture, you must not simply hear the words. You must enter the vision. You must picture it, embrace it, dwell in it until it becomes more real to you than the passing shadows of the present world. Think of the prophets of old. Did they not walk in the reality of what had not yet appeared? Abraham imagined himself the father of nations long before Isaac was born. He looked at the stars and saw in them the fulfillment of what God whispered. Joseph dreamed of his brothers bowing before him, and though they mocked him, his imagination carried the seed of prophecy until it was fulfilled. Daniel saw kingdoms rise and fall long before history confirmed it, because imagination had opened the door to divine foresight. And John, exiled on Patmos, saw the end of days unfold in visions more real than the island around him. All of them entered prophecy through imagination, and all who would understand the rapture must do the same. But imagination is not only for seeing prophecy, it is also for aligning yourself with it, for prophecy is not merely what shall happen in the world, but what shall happen in you. You must decide what part you will play in the unfolding drama. Will you be among those who mock until the day comes, or will you be among those who rise because they were already lifted in imagination? Imagination allows you to position yourself. By imagining yourself chosen, awakened, transformed, you step into the role God has prepared for you. And when the rapture comes, you will not scramble to believe at the last moment. You will have been living it all along. This is why you must guard your imagination. The same door that opens to prophecy can also open to fear, despair, and deception if you misuse it. Many will imagine destruction, and to them destruction will be their portion. But those who imagine glory, transformation, and union with God will find themselves lifted into that reality. What you continually imagine becomes what you inevitably experience, for imagination is creative, not passive. Do not waste your imagination on fear of missing the rapture. Instead, use it to embody the truth that you are already counted among the chosen. When September 2025 comes, it will not surprise you, for you have long lived in the state of being raptured. Therefore, take time each day to enter the silence and see yourself in the promise. Close your eyes and hear the trumpet of God. See the heavens parting, not above you but within you. Feel yourself rise into light, free, eternal, filled with joy unspeakable. Live in this inner vision until it feels more real than the world's distractions. This is how you prepare, this is how you align, this is how you step through the door of prophecy, for imagination is the key that unlocks the unseen. Those who mock will call it foolishness, but when the moment comes, they will weep for what they refused to believe. But you will not weep, for you will already have ascended in imagination long before the outer ascension takes place. Imagination is the door to prophecy, and the rapture of September 2025 is the stage upon which this truth will be revealed. Those who have dared to believe, to envision, to live in the unseen, will walk into fulfillment with joy. Those who clung only to what their physical eyes could show them will be left confused. So take this moment to honor your imagination, to guard it, to use it wisely. It is not idle, it is sacred, it is not fantasy. It is the language of eternity. And if you keep it fixed upon the promise, you will see that what was once vision becomes reality, what was once prophecy becomes fulfillment, and what was once September 2025 in the distance becomes the eternal now in which you are forever raptured into the presence of God. The old self must collapse for the new to rise. The mystery of the rapture is not merely about leaving the earth, but about leaving behind the self that has long been chained to limitation, fear, and separation. The truth is this: before you can rise into the glory of God's eternal promise, the old garment of self must be stripped away, for no man can carry his bondage into freedom, and no soul can bring its corruption into incorruption. The collapse of the old self is not destruction but transformation, a holy undoing of everything you thought you were, so that what you truly are may finally stand revealed. September 2025 is appointed not simply as an event upon the calendar of history, but as the moment when many will be forced to reckon with the death of their old selves, whether they have prepared for it or not. Those who cling to the old identity will feel the shaking as terror, but those who have already surrendered will experience it as liberation. The rapture is not meant to take away from you. It is meant to take away you, the false self, the illusion of separateness, the limited identity you have worn for so long. Only when this collapse has taken place can the new man, the eternal one born of spirit, rise in glory. This process begins long before the outer sign appears. Even now, the Spirit is pressing upon you, stripping away your idols, your masks, your attachments, and your excuses. Every trial you endure, every disappointment, every betrayal, every heartbreak is not meant to destroy you, but to destroy the self that cannot enter the kingdom. If you resist, you prolong the suffering. If you yield, you are changed. The old self collapses when you no longer find life in the things that once defined you. Your status, your possessions, your pride, your wounds. It collapses when you recognize that all you thought yourself to be was only a shadow, a temporary arrangement of dust and memory. To many, this collapse feels like death, and in truth it is, for the self that dies will never rise again. But from that holy grave springs forth the new creation, untouched by the world, radiant with light. The rapture is simply the outward confirmation of this inner resurrection. The greatest obstacle to experiencing the rapture is not the world, nor the devil, nor even the circumstances of life. It is the self you refuse to let go of. The old man clings desperately to survival, terrified of dissolving into the unknown. He whispers, "Hold on to me, for without me you will be nothing." Yet it is only when you let him die that you discover you are everything, that you were never the mask you wore, but the eternal breath that animated it. The collapse of the old self may appear as loss in the world, relationships breaking, careers shifting, identities unraveling. But each loss is a stripping away of what cannot enter into light. The Spirit knows what you need to release, and in love he pries your fingers from what you clutch too tightly. This is why the chosen endure so much breaking, for they are being prepared to rise. September 2025 will mark a season when the shaking intensifies, when the collapse of the old will no longer be optional. The illusions that men trusted will crumble, and the identities they built upon sand will be swept away. Many will panic, thinking all is lost, but in truth it is only the false that is perishing. The eternal cannot be touched. If you have already allowed the old self to collapse within you, then you will not fear when the world's structures fall. You will recognize it as the outer reflection of what has already taken place in your own soul. You will stand unshaken because you no longer live by the old identity, but by the new creation within. But if you have resisted the inner collapse, you will feel torn apart, for the Spirit will not allow the false to stand any longer. The rapture requires the death of the old, and the appointed hour ensures it will happen, ready or not. Yet do not misunderstand, the collapse of the old is not meant to humiliate, but to liberate. It is not punishment, but preparation. Just as a seed must break open for the sprout to emerge, just as a cocoon must split for the butterfly to rise, so must your old self collapse for the eternal self to appear. Without this breaking, there is no rising. You cannot cling to the shell and expect to fly. This is why the Spirit continually brings you to the edge of yourself, asking you to surrender what you thought was indispensable. Every surrender is a small rapture, a little resurrection, a step closer to the final unveiling. Each time you let go, you ascend. Each time you die to the false, you awaken to the true, and when the great rapture comes, you will not be unprepared. It will only be the culmination of all the smaller deaths you have embraced along the way. Many fear the collapse of the old because they do not trust what waits beyond it. They imagine emptiness, loss, annihilation, but the truth is the opposite. What waits beyond is fullness, gain, eternal life. The old self collapses only so the real self can emerge. When you finally yield, you discover that what dies is only the prison, and what rises is the prisoner set free. The walls you clung to for safety were the very walls that kept you bound, and the collapse is your release. This is why those who are awakened do not fear September 2025, but welcome it. They know that the shaking of the world is the shaking of the prison, and the collapse of the old is the opening of the door to glory. How then do you allow the collapse of the old self? By no longer identifying with it. When fear rises, say, "This is not who I am." When pride flares, say, "This is not who I am." When anger, guilt, shame, or despair grip you, recognize them as the echoes of the old self, not the truth of your being. Watch them collapse as you refuse to feed them. Turn instead to the vision of who you are in spirit, eternal, radiant, one with God. Let this vision consume you until the old self has no ground left to stand on. This is the preparation for the rapture. Not a frantic clinging to dates and signs, but a daily surrender to the collapse of the false, and a daily rising into the truth. When the outer trumpet sounds, you will already be lifted within, for the old you will have long been buried, and the new you will already be shining. Beloved, understand this well. The rapture is not an escape from reality, but the unveiling of reality. It is not running away from the world, but awakening to the truth that you were never of the world in the first place. The collapse of the old self is the price of admission, and it is a price that must be paid. But it is not a cruel demand. It is the mercy of God stripping away the chains so that you may finally fly. Do not resist the breaking. Do not mourn the crumbling. Rejoice in it, for it is the sign that the new is ready to rise. September 2025 is not the end of life, but the end of the lie, not the end of you, but the end of what you are not. And when that collapse is complete, you will know what it means to truly live. So let the old self collapse. Let every false identity fall. Let the shaking strip away everything that is not eternal. Do not fear the death of the shadow, for the shadow was never your true self. What rises in its place is the eternal child of God, clothed in light, radiant with glory, untouchable by time. This is the rapture. not simply leaving the earth, but leaving behind the old self and rising as who you truly are. And in September 2025, when the outer world reflects this inner truth, those who have surrendered will shine, and those who have resisted will weep. But you, chosen one, are not called to weep. You are called to rise. Time is only a shadow of fulfillment. Time, as men know it, is not the eternal reality, but only the shadow it casts, a sequence of passing moments that veil the timeless truth already complete in God. The rapture of September 2025 is not a sudden creation that springs into being on a certain date. It is the unveiling in time of what has always been finished in eternity. To the human mind, bound by calendars and clocks, prophecy appears as a prediction of something that will one day happen. But to the awakened, prophecy is the revelation of what already is, clothed in the garments of time so that mortal eyes may perceive it. Time does not create fulfillment, it only delivers it. Just as a shadow follows the body, so does time follow the eternal, giving shape to what already exists in God's realm. If you cling to time as ultimate, you will tremble at the thought of September 2025, as though fulfillment hangs upon the turning of the days. But if you understand time as shadow, you will walk into that appointed hour with peace, knowing it only confirms what was eternally true long before the world began. This is why the rapture cannot be delayed nor hastened, for it is not dependent on men, governments, or events. It is the perfect manifestation of an eternal decree. To say the rapture will happen in September 2025 is to say that in that month the eternal reality will cast its shadow into the temporal. It is not new, it is not sudden, it is the inevitable outworking of what already exists. You are not waiting for God to decide, he has already finished his work. You are not waiting for heaven to open, it has always been open. You are only waiting for time to catch up with what has already been decreed in eternity, and so the question is not when will the rapture come, but am I aligned with it now? For if the fulfillment already exists, you may enter into it even before the shadow touches earth. The chosen live not by time, but by fulfillment, and so they walk already in the reality that others believe is still future. Think of a seed planted in the ground. To the eye, it seems to take days, weeks, or months for the sprout to emerge, but in truth the life of the tree already exists in the seed in its entirety. Time does not create the tree, time only unveils what was hidden. So it is with prophecy and with the rapture. September 2025 is the sprout breaking through the soil, but the life has been within the seed from the beginning. If you fix your eyes only on the calendar, you will believe fulfillment is distant, still pending, not yet real. But if you look deeper, you will realize that fulfillment is eternal, and time is only its shadow. The wise prepare not by waiting, but by entering into the reality now, for to them the rapture is not merely an event to come. It is a state already tasted, a reality already lived. This is why Scripture often speaks of the eternal in past tense. It is finished. You are seated in heavenly places. Whom he justified, he also glorified. These words are not promises of what will be, but declarations of what already is. Time may not yet have unfolded their shadow in your experience, but in eternity they are complete. So it is with the rapture. It is already fulfilled. The trumpet has already sounded in eternity, the dead have already risen, the light has already shone. September 2025 is simply the shadow of that eternal fulfillment striking the stage of history. When you understand this, you no longer tremble at dates, for you know that eternity cannot fail. You no longer fear delays, for what is finished cannot be undone. You no longer cling anxiously to signs, for the greatest sign is within, the certainty that fulfillment already exists. This truth frees you from fear and awakens you to your true identity. If time is shadow, then you are not a prisoner of it. You are not bound by days, years, or ages. You are eternal spirit, already one with the fulfillment. When you rise inwardly into this awareness, you realize that you do not have to wait for September 2025 to taste the rapture. You may enter it now by faith, by imagination, by alignment with the eternal truth. This is the mystery of living in fulfillment before the shadow arrives. While others anxiously count down days, you already walk in the reality, clothed in peace and assurance. And when the shadow appears, you will not be startled. It will only confirm what you have known all along. But to those who cling to time as ultimate, the shadow will come as a thief. They will say, "How did this happen? Why was I not ready?" Because they mistook the shadow for the substance, the clock for the reality, the calendar for the decree. They waited for something outside instead of awakening to what was already true within. They lived as though eternity were future instead of present, and so the shadow caught them unprepared. The wise know better. The wise live in fulfillment now, and when time reveals it, they simply rejoice. Understand this well. Time itself is not your enemy, but it is not your master either. It is the servant of eternity, the stage upon which fulfillment plays out. September 2025 is not the cause of the rapture. It is the stage where the rapture is displayed. The cause is eternal, and the eternal has never failed. This is why you must lift your eyes higher than the clock. Do not say the rapture will happen someday. Say instead, the rapture is already finished in God, and I align with it now. This shift in awareness is itself a kind of rapture, lifting you out of fear and uncertainty into peace and assurance. You no longer wonder if you will be ready. You are already ready, because readiness is not about time, but about alignment with fulfillment. Consider the shadow again. If you chase a shadow, you will never catch it. But if you turn to the substance, the shadow follows naturally. So too with prophecy. If you chase dates and signs, you will miss the reality. But if you turn to the eternal truth, the shadows of time will naturally reveal it. September 2025 is the shadow, but the substance is eternal. Do not chase the shadow. Become aligned with the substance, and the shadow will take care of itself. This is the way of wisdom, the way of peace, the way of the chosen. Therefore, beloved, let your heart rest. Do not live in anxiety about days and months. The fulfillment does not depend on time, for time is only its echo. What you long for already is. The rapture is not far. It is here, waiting for time to unveil it. Align yourself now, and you will discover that the future has already been lived, that the end is already the beginning, that September 2025 is already complete in eternity. When that month arrives, you will not be caught off guard, for you will already be living in the fulfillment, already clothed in the light, already lifted in spirit. Time will simply reveal what eternity declared long ago, that you are chosen, that you are redeemed, that you are raptured into the eternal presence of God. So let this truth carry you. Time is only a shadow of fulfillment. Do not cling to the shadow, cling to the substance. Do not wait for eternity, enter it now. For when September 2025 comes, you will see not the beginning of something new, but the unveiling of what has always been true. The shadow will pass, but the fulfillment will remain, and you will know beyond all doubt that you were never waiting. You were always already there. The kingdom is revealed to the chosen. The rapture of September 2025 is not for every eye to see, nor for every ear to hear, for the mysteries of God are never cast before those who scoff and scorn, but are revealed to the ones prepared in spirit, the chosen who have been refined in the furnace of trials and awakened in the secret chambers of the heart. The kingdom is not a spectacle broadcast for the world's entertainment. It is a hidden treasure revealed only to those who seek with purity, hunger, and faith. Many will live through that appointed hour and see only confusion, chaos, or collapse. Yet the chosen will see glory, order, and fulfillment, because perception is not shaped by outward appearances, but by inner awakening. The kingdom has always been present, for it is within you, but only those who have allowed the veil to be lifted will behold it, and so it shall be in September 2025. The world will say, "Where is this rapture? Where is this promise?" While the chosen will experience it as the unveiling of what they always knew, the confirmation of what they long carried in their spirits. The kingdom is revealed to the chosen, not because they are favored above others in pride, but because they are willing to see, willing to believe, willing to die to the old self and live in the truth that the eternal dwells within. This revelation is selective not by exclusion, but by readiness. Just as light shines on all, but only the open eye perceives it, so the kingdom is unveiled to all, but only the awakened recognize it. The rapture does not come to convince the doubter, but to reward the believer. To the doubter it is foolishness, to the believer it is fulfillment. The chosen are those who live not by sight but by faith, who dare to see beyond appearances, who choose the inner reality over the outer illusion. They have been ridiculed by the world, misunderstood by family, isolated in their convictions, yet all of it has been preparation, for only such souls are capable of recognizing the kingdom when it appears. Their hearts have been tuned to a higher frequency, their eyes sharpened to see the invisible, their ears attuned to the still small voice. When the trumpet sounds in September 2025, it will not awaken the mockers. They will hear only noise, but it will resonate deeply with the chosen, for their spirits have long been vibrating in harmony with that sound. The kingdom is not revealed through arguments, debates, or intellectual proofs, but through direct unveiling in the soul. The chosen ones know this, for they have tasted it already in visions, in dreams, in sudden moments of rapture within. They have glimpsed the light in the silence of prayer, felt the presence in the loneliness of midnight, seen the signs in ordinary moments that others dismissed. These glimpses were not illusions, they were previews, foretaste of what is to come. September 2025 will not introduce them to something foreign but complete what they have always known. This is why the chosen are not startled but expectant, not fearful but joyful, for they have already walked with the kingdom in secret, and now it will be revealed openly. Do not mistake this revelation as a privilege earned by works or effort. It is the fruit of surrender. The chosen are not the strongest, the wealthiest, or the most outwardly righteous. They are those who yielded, those who let go, those who allowed the Spirit to strip them of pride and clothe them with humility. They are those who suffered loss and discovered treasure within, who endured rejection and found companionship with the eternal, who were broken in the world's eyes but made whole in God's. They are chosen not by merit but by response, for when the Spirit whispered they listened, when the call came they answered, when the old self demanded survival they surrendered. It is this surrender that prepared them to see, for the proud cannot recognize the kingdom. It is veiled from them by their own arrogance, but the humble, the broken, the yielded, they see what others cannot. This is why the kingdom cannot be proven, only revealed. You cannot persuade the skeptic by reason, for reason will always stumble before the mystery. You cannot convince the mocker by argument, for their blindness is willful. But to the chosen no proof is needed. The kingdom proves itself by presence. It reveals itself in ways that bypass the intellect and strike directly at the spirit. And when September 2025 unfolds, the chosen will not debate. They will rejoice, for they will see with unveiled eyes what they long carried in faith. The world will call it delusion, chaos, or fantasy, but the chosen will know it as fulfillment, as promise made visible, as eternity breaking through the thin veil of time. The revelation of the kingdom is also the vindication of the chosen. For long they have walked alone, misunderstood, even mocked for their devotion, their visions, their insistence that there is more than meets the eye. In September 2025 the veil will part, and the world will see that what they believed was not madness but foresight, not fantasy but prophecy. Yet even then not all will acknowledge it, for many will cling to blindness rather than surrender pride. But for the chosen, vindication will not come from the world's approval, but from the inner joy of knowing they were right to trust, right to believe, right to endure. Their faith will be crowned not with applause but with glory. Understand this, the kingdom is not revealed to all because not all desire it. Some desire comfort more than truth, appearances more than reality, time more than eternity. The kingdom requires surrender, and surrender is what many refuse. They cling to the old self, the old world, the old ways, unwilling to collapse, unwilling to die, unwilling to let go. For them the rapture will be hidden, for though the light shines, they have closed their eyes. The chosen are those who opened their eyes, who said, Yes, let the old die, let the new rise, let thy kingdom come. And to them the kingdom is revealed. September 2025 will be a dividing line, not imposed by God, but chosen by men's responses. Some will walk into light, others will remain in darkness. Some will rise, others will stay bound. Some will behold the kingdom revealed, others will deny its very existence. The difference will not be in what happens, but in who sees. and seeing belongs to the chosen. This is why you must decide now to be among them, not by striving but by surrender, not by proving yourself worthy, but by yielding to the one who has already declared you chosen. To be chosen is to say yes to the invitation, to awaken to the kingdom within, to recognize what others overlook. So, beloved, prepare not by looking outward but by opening inward. The kingdom is not coming with observation, as though men could point and say, "Here it is," or "There it is." The kingdom is within you, waiting to be revealed. When the veil lifts in September 2025, will you be among those who see? Will you be counted among the chosen who recognize the eternal breaking through? The answer depends not on the future, but on your present surrender. Yield now, awaken now, believe now, for the kingdom is already here. To the world it is hidden, but to the chosen it is revealed. And when that appointed hour arrives, you will not only see the kingdom, you will rise into it, clothed in light, crowned in glory, forever one with the eternal promise of God.